Welcome back. Yep, that's right. It's another edition of The Advantage Line, your one-stop shop for all things NRL and rugby league. Once again, I'm joined in studio by Carl Tiley.
Hey, Paul. How you going?
I'm going well. How are you going?
I'm going very good, mate. It's a big week in rugby league.
It is,
as I said.
Preliminary finals week.
Can't wait. I'm excited.
And then there were four.
Yeah.
And there were four of us. So let's meet the other two. We'll head way up north to the Big Smoke and join our good friend Surly. Surly, how are things up in Auckland way?
Yeah, look, can't complain. Sun's out. Finals footy's in the air. Of course, the mighty Riff. They'll be fresh after a week off, so it'll be all day long and should be a convincing win for them. But yeah, looking forward to this weekend's footy. If last weekend was anything to go off.
Well, yeah. One big cat made it through to the preliminary finals. There's another cat that got the wooden spoon earlier this season. Let's welcome in Blake Asian.
Am I through to the prelims or why? How are we? How are we, gents? How are we? Feeling like sorry?
You had three teams and they all missed.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to pin my tail to one. Parramatta, I picked the start of the year. We're still rolling. We're still tight. Look, I thought I was a genius halfway through the round. Carl obviously jinxed me, Paul, but brought me back down to earth this week, and it's good to be back, mate. It really is. The highlight of my week seeing you, Paul.
That's a great week, then.
It's a lonely
That
life.
is a great week.
Tough life.
Wow, that's a huge week. Before we get on that, why don't we look at what's been happening NRL-wise and rumours that Munster might be heading to the Tigers. The Tigers are planning on making a huge offer. The Munster, he could be the key that unlocks the potential of this Tigers team, Blake.
He sure is, Paul. He sure could be. Now, look at similarities. His manager, Braithen Astor, sort of came towards the end of his career. Now, Munster's been in the game for a while. I'm not saying he's near the end at all, but, you know, he's definitely over halfway. Why not come and join Adam Dewey, Uppy Coruscant, Isaiah Papali'i next year and make that team a top 8 team? Because of those four, I'm telling you, Paul, they are a top 8 team.
Well, Munster's used to playing top 4 rugby league, not top 8.
Yeah, but, hey, it's a work on, Carl. The Tigers haven't made it since a while ago. I'm not going to mention the year, but they haven't made it since then. And, you know, it's been a while. So first got to get in the 8. Then we get the top 4. Huh?
Was that 2011?
That would be correct, Carl. Yes, that would be correct.
You remember that final series, do you?
Sure do, pal.
Wow.
Sure do.
Statman and Blake are at it early on. This is a Joe Joyce, Joseph Parker early preview. Surly, first of all, are you buying Munster to the Tigers? And if he does go, are you buying them top 8 material first season?
Well, if he did the unthinkable and did go there, then yeah, sure. But a few weeks ago it was Mitch Moses. So it's good to see the Tigers are chucking themselves at every premier half in the comp. I think the quote was that Benji rang Munster and Munster said, "Thanks for the call, mate. I'll get back to you." I'm sure we've all said that once in our time and we never got back to them. So yeah, for me, they're going to chuck the checkbook at him, but I think it is a 2-horse race. He either stays at the Storm or he chases the big bickies with Uncle Wayne up at Redcliffe.
The Dolphins. That does seem the most likely scenario. I mean, I don't want to break Blake's heart, but the most likely scenario is he either stays at the Storm. I think that would be the fave, or he goes second fave would be go to the Dolphins.
I think he will be in purple next year at the Storm.
Listening to Cameron Smith on the radio, he said, look, if he wanted to stay at Storm, he would have already signed and inked a new deal for an extension, but he hasn't. So obviously there's something there where he's obviously trying to leave, or I don't know. So this is from Cameron Smith, who knows the Storm better than anyone else. So look, it's either I think it's either Redcliffe or the mighty Tigers, and why not bring one of those teams into the top 8?
Maybe he's just trying to push his price up slightly by Delage, pretending that he might be going somewhere else and just get the Storm to just add a few more dollars onto the end of that contract there. You know, so it's more like the sort of contract that Carl has here at the TAB, and that sort of atmosphere.
Yes.
I heard he was applying for a renewed passport so he could make the trip across the ditch and come play for the Warriors. So there you go.
Papali'i, Munster, all
Oh.
coming to the Warriors.
Yeah, well, half
Did
the
it have
players Blake just named as being at the Tigers next year are coming across as well. So there we go.
Didn't know the Warriors. I didn't know the Warriors had turned into the Roosters and didn't have a salary cap. Amazing.
Nah,
We tried,
now we're
we
back
tried.
home. They've given us no home games, but we get an extended cap, mate.
Right, we'll leave that. Well, we might leave the Tigers there. Let's have a chat with Blake, and I don't know if there are any Mad Monday stories that he can actually regale on this show, seeing as it is a PG show and not an AO.
Yeah, like probably not. I think I've already said about the one where I went in the Roosters Mad Monday. I've got a story though, because watching a couple of teams on the weekend and maybe some referees, it seemed like they were a bit drunk out there on the field. And remember the time I had a beer and went out the night before I played an NRL game, and it's it's not often I had my 21st and had Friday night footy the next night, and it was a 50 Cent concert. It was before I debuted, so I bought tickets months in advance, and during those months I sort of debuted and was rolling. But before that, I won't drink. I'll go there. I'll just have some waters. Anyway, the boys started. I'll just have a couple. Next thing I know, get home 2:30. Friday morning, I've got Friday night footy. End up going and playing probably the best one of the best games of my career. Very hungover against the Bulldogs. Still remember it. Got beat 14-6. Blake Lazarus's debut. I was defending next to him. So, but it reminded me as well about a couple of other people that have played drunk and actually broke records in the finals. Now, I'm not going to mention their names. They're still playing at the moment. But they've gone out night before a semi-final, and I remember the leaders pulled them aside and said, "Look, what's done's done. But if you don't and turn up, there's going to be punishment. There's going to be more to it." Anyway, he goes on to, I won't say what record because I'll give it away, but break one of the final records that's still held today, I believe. So, look, maybe one of the players might do that this weekend, but no Mad Monday stories. Just brought me back to a little drinking session before the NRL game.
Just frantically Googling NRL finals records.
Yeah, there we go.
Still playing. Okay. You hunt away.
Yeah, I'm hunting.
Now, Surly, there were rumours out there that one Mad Monday, I guess, function, the coach was sailing close to the shore, shall we say. Any sort of inside all that you can share with us, Surly?
No inside oil, but as we suspected earlier in the week, there's a few names that come to mind. I think old Kevy would be right up in the mixer, but yeah, no inside oil. But geez, you love a good Mad Monday yarn, and it is sad to see a few teams not get in the mix this year because it's been a quiet old week. I see the Newcastle boys have taken themselves over to Bali, so perhaps there's some emerging stories there. But the only thing that looks to be getting punished is the buttons on their shirt. They're all rocking the old unbuttoned look, getting the rigs out. But yeah, for me, I think this one could be Kevy. Screams a bit of him.
Can't find anything.
Well, I tell you what, if the Warriors win the NRL, the very next podcast, we will do topless.
I'm with that. I'm all here for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Naked, full naked, no.
Yeah,
They
we'll
would
do the full naked with the trophy just covering.
If they win 3 straight at the any time next year, I'll go topless.
There we go.
Did they go 3 straight this year?
No.
Just 3 out of the first 5.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, they must have actually because they lost the first 2.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Get it
Shut
on.
off.
Win-win.
Mm.
Sure.
Well, we lost another couple of teams last weekend. The Sharks have gone. How would you rate their season, boys? Surly, a pass or a fail? For mine, it's above average.
Oh, it's a massive pass for me. Obviously, they won't be happy with how they went out in the final in straight sense. That was disappointing, but I think overall, a big pass. They finished 9th last year, turned that into 2nd. That has to be considered a great success. I think the most disappointing part of the back end of their season in particular was their defense. That's what they really crafted their game around in that first half, and I think that Cam Murray try really kind of summed it up. That was really soft from players you don't expect that from, but I think they showed that they've got themselves a marquee player in Nico Hines for the next 5 or so years. They've got some incredibly talented players, those outside backs. They're stacked, and I think Dale Finucane, when he was healthy, he kind of delivered on what they brought him in for as well. So I think they'll be a threat for the next few years to come. Definitely a strong pass for me.
Blake, you're going to give them a pass as well, your old Shark buddies?
Yeah, I 100%. I think it's a success. I know they finished 2nd, so obviously the regular season was at least. Listen to Fitzgibbon after the game. He didn't sugarcoat it at all. He was pretty blunt in saying it just wasn't good enough and the way they finished. And it was very unshark like that Rabbits game. Even if they were to get beat, it's not. You don't really see them get beat like that too often, especially in a semi-final. So look, for not knowing how Nico Hines was going to go, having his first full season actually running a team and becoming a superstar, possibly Dally M winner, possibly. I think there's a huge success, and I can see them being there for the next 3 or 4 years, to be honest.
Well, you have to give them a pass as well, and Nico Hines, arguably the buy of the season.
Big pass, especially considering I think I had them coming about 11th or 12th at the start of the season. So huge effort from the Sharkies. Craig Fitzgibbon can coach. Nico Hines can play rugby league. As you say, he'd be one of the best buys of the season. Close to Dally M. Heck of a season from Sharkies. I think, as Blake said, their fans will be very happy going forward. They will feature in finals heavily.
Yeah, I think they'll be very, very keen to keep Dale Finucane on the field for as long as possible. He has that sort of as close to an 80-minute forward as you can get. He's there sort of guy who'll do all the dirty work, make a ton of tackles, cart the ball up as much as you like. And I think that just takes a lot of pressure off the rest of the forward pack. So if he can stay healthy, Nico Hines gets another year of experience behind him this year, first time as basically the number one half in the team. They performed very well.
Someone else that went probably unnoticed for most of the season, Matt Moylan. He played every game or close to every game, which is unheard of for him, considering his run with injury in the past. And he got better every game too as the season went on. So, yeah, hopefully he's still playing in a few years as well.
Well, he only got the 1 year, I'm pretty sure, going into this year. So it was sort of a see how he goes. So I'm pretty sure, like you said, Carl, I'm hoping they re-sign him because it was good.
Sure.
The other team that went out last weekend was the Canberra Raiders.
It took me by surprise.
Is that a pass or a weak-gutted fail, Blake?
Oh, mate, it's got to be a pass, I think. You think about their team. So, like, you put them against the Sharks. The Sharks are star-studded all over the park, whereas the Raiders, yes, Hudson Young's come up this year, but it was really a White and the two big boys, sort of their team. And it could also be, you don't like playing the game a lot, but a what-if season for them. They were nine wins and 4 losses with Fogarty. So if he plays the first, I think he missed maybe 10 rounds, where do they finish the ladder? Do they finish in the top 4? Possibly. You don't know. But, I think it's a pass from where they were. And to make the 8 and even beat the Storm that first week, I would give them a pass just on that, especially with the amount of teams that have risen this year to be pretty good damn teams.
Shirley, Fogarty was their big off-season purchase, and for him to miss a big part of that season really did sort of dent their certainly their top 4 hopes, and they only just snuck into the top 8 in the end. But a pass for you?
Yeah, I think, like Blake mentioned, anytime you start, 2 from 9 from your first 9 games, like just to make the 8 and be playing finals footy is a huge result. Add to that, they lost their skipper and their starting hooker in Hodgson in the very first game. So they've been up against it. They lost Jared Croker as well. So I think a pass mark, they unlocked Xavier Savage. He still has a lot to learn, but that try that he scored on the weekend, just that individual brilliance, he can pull something from nothing. So he's a player to watch, and that was a brave decision, kind of moving on CNK and going with him, but I think that'll pay off for them in the long term. And yeah, I think just making the second round of finals after the way they started, that's got to be a win. And I think Ricky Stewart will look back on it and think it was a pretty successful year, all things considering.
They had 5 losses, 10 points or less as well. You pick up 3 of those and you're into the top 4. So
They weren't that far away.
yeah, exactly. I think a pass mark, scraped into the 8, got the scalp the first week. I think getting the scalp in the first week probably made it a pass for them for the season. Had they gone out in the first round, it probably would have been a bit like, oh yeah, okay,
50-50.
Made the finals, but didn't really make the finals kind of thing. Disappointing game last week. Disappointing result. But yeah, pass overall for me.
They did close the Bank of Melbourne.
They did.
I don't know if anyone withdrew before that, but it was a very un-Melbourne-like season for mine, and I guess the loss of Pappenhausen was huge, and I know they had other shorter injury stints to other players like Jerome Hughes. So I think we already discussed the Storm, but can you see them? I guess next season being a serious challenger again, Sealy?
Yeah, I think so. I keep going back to Christian Welsh as well, but I think they missed him so much in that forward pack. We're not used to seeing a Melbourne pack kind of get dominated like that, but I think they missed his leadership and his work rate. They are losing a lot of players, but typical Melbourne, they'll always bring some guys up who will be with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I think we'll see some of their best stuff just because they've got a point to prove. They're in a position they're not used to, kind of got their backs against the wall, so I think they'll come out firing. You'd be stupid to write them off, in my opinion.
Yeah, I learned a few years ago that you don't write them off. This is how many times has this happened to a Melbourne team in the past 10, 12 years, where they lose their best players.
Greg Inglis, Billy Slater.
Yeah,
I
don't. It sort of seems different this time to me. I know they've lost Cameron Smith, but it was like Cameron Smith lost, but you still have Munster, Hughes, Smith, Harry Grant, blah, blah. Like you have all them. Now it's Jesse Bromwich, Kenny Bromwich, Brandon Smith gone. Kafusi. Like, yeah, we go like, Kafusi. There's the 2 back rowers gone. Your 2 starting back rowers, your starting prop gone. Walsh is coming off an ACL injury. How long is it going to take for these younger guys, or even those bench players that we saw this year? Are they the ones ready to step up into the jersey? And like, I don't know. I know you sort of don't want to write them off, but to me, it sort of seems like next year's completely different to any other loss they've had. It's just like they don't have that same depth there. I don't know. Maybe Bellamy sees the writing on the wall because he's off after next year, I think. He said.
Is he?
I think so, but watch guys like Sims and that. I reckon he'll go down there and kill it. They do have some guys that they'll find a way to unlock again. Yeah. I agree. They'll be a top 8 side. They might not be a top 4 side, but I think they'll play finals footy.
Yeah, I think they'll play finals footy. If we're trying to look at teams and say, oh look, I think they're going to be dominant as the previous years and win it, I don't think they can win it. But that's an early crow. I'm good for it. So.
Another early crow, and I've said it before, Ali Katoa will be the best second rower in the competition next year.
I think Ice Papali'i might be
not if he goes
number of games at Mount Smart Stadium. So.
Well, let's say
goes Tigers, yeah.
Should we look ahead to this weekend? Should we get stuck in? Do you want to take us down a path, Statman, or Should we look at the game one, Friday night, Cowboys Eels? Where are we? We're Queensland Country Bank Stadium, 10-10. Do you want to give us some stats?
Yes.
And do the stats point you definitively in one direction?
They do for one of the games and kind of for the other game. So we'll start with the Cowboys. So they beat the Eels earlier this year, 35-4. The Cowboys have won 3 of the last 5 and 6 of the last 10. They've won 7 of the last 9 at home, dating back to 2009 as well against the Eels. Para, though, have won 2 of the last 3, and those 2 wins by 16 and 38 points. The average total points set by the bookies in the last 10, 40.9. So about 41 points. The average total scored, 40.2. The under has hit in 6 of the last 10. This week's total, 42.5. There have been 5 instances in the last 10 matches where the result has been an absolute blowout. 35-4 to the Cowboys earlier this year, 42-4 to the Eels, 44-6 to the Cows, 32-6 to the Cowboys, and 26-6 to the Eels. Interestingly enough, 3 of those, the total was under. The home team has been favourite for the last 5 matchups. The average point start has been 8.5. This week is 2.5.
2.5. Yep.
The average winning margin by either team in the last 5 is 26. And the last 10 is 20.6.
It's almost like you're trying to force me to take one of these teams 13 and over and the winning team in margin.
Well, that's what the stats say to do, Paul. And if you're going to get leery, take someone 13 plus and under the total.
Well, Surly, as Statman just mentioned, earlier this season, the Cowboys handed the Eels a bit of a hiding up in Darwin. How do you see it playing out this weekend, though?
Yeah, look, I think that Darwin game, you got to factor in, round 8, no Micah Sivo, no Marata Niokore. I think Dylan Brown was playing in the halves as well. So I think Para might have written that one off as just a bad day in the office. But in saying that, I'll be pretty nervous heading into Townsville. Meant to be 29 degrees on Friday, so she's going to be nice and warm. No doubt the crowd will be in massive numbers. Cowboys 9 from 12 at home this year. And they're just a different beast up at home. So once they won through to get that home semi, I think that kind of changed everything for me. In saying that, though, Para have as good a chance as anyone is going up there and beating them because they're that type of side. And if they were to win 13 plus, would it really surprise you? I don't know. With the way you like your Dylan Brown and that are playing at the moment, anything's possible. But yeah, I'll be backing the Cowboys in a tight one just because of that home ground advantage. But I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it'll be closer than the last few encounters anyway.
Yeah, Blake, Jake Arthur started in the halves, I think, that match up in Darwin. And Dylan Brown was in the centres. That makes a lot of sense. How do you see Friday night going for the Eels?
It's going to be one hell of a game. It's a really tough one. Like I said, I think the Eels at the moment are sitting pretty to win the whole thing. I like where they're at. I like the confidence they're playing with, especially after last week. And you can tell when they're on. When we spoke so much last week about Papali and Tapine, how big they were, but the unsung heroes of Parramatta are those 2 front rowers, RCG and Paulo. And Sean Lane had his best game of his career last week, and it wasn't because there was no offloads. It was the tough carries that he did non-stop. I think the confidence with them flying high, Mitchell Moses running the footy. And look, it's 16 on 16 because let's be honest, Jacob Arthur won't get on unless there's an injury, and the hammer might see 5 minutes at the end. So it's going to be survival of the fittest. I think Toddy's he's one of the smartest minds in rugby league. So he's got, something in plan, whether it's bomb to Wanga Blake or it's going through the middle to get him tired. Like I said, I'm all in on the Eels at the moment. I think I love what they're doing. And Madison, his offloads and his ball control in the middle of the field is outstanding. So Eels in a close one.
Right. We're welcoming aboard our good friend Scott Sattler. I don't think he needs any introduction, to be fair. Certainly not if you're a Penrith Panthers fan. In fact, if you're an NRL fan, I think you've seen that tackle probably 100 times, and we'll probably see it a few more times over the next week or so. But thanks for joining us, Scott. Really great to have you on the show. We were just talking about, we're previewing the Cowboys-Eels game, and the Cowboys are 2.5-point favourites. Can you just give us your thoughts on how you think this might pan out?
It's going to be an interesting one, guys. I'm a big believer of the weekend off. I feel as though that if you can have the opportunity to have the weekend off, it gives you the ability to also just get rid of some of those niggling injuries, work on some of the deficiencies that you had the week before. And when it comes to the Cowboys, I mean, they've been one of the best defensive sides this year, but they conceded 30 points against the Sharks, and now they get an extra week just to work on a few of those deficiencies. So, really beneficial in the modern game to have the weekend off. Parramatta, on the other hand, got an injury to Tom Opachik. Not sure whether he's going to play or not. It's a hamstring injury, and whether it's just precautionary that they kept him off last week because they're winning so easily remains to be seen. But if he's out, it means a bit of reshuffling from what has been their main side week in, week out. And on top of that, going to Townsville when it's the humidity's up high. I know a lot of people say, it doesn't matter, it won't make any difference. Well, it makes a huge difference when you're living in Sydney and all of a sudden you're going to Townsville to play a grand final qualifier, and the conditions are conditions that you've never played in all year. So a huge advantage to the Cowboys. So, in saying all that, I expect the Cowboys to be, if they start fast, the Cowboys, they'll be hard to stop. They'll be hard to pin down.
So if Tom Opachik doesn't start, do they do what they did against the Cowboys earlier this season and throw Dylan Brown into the centres and bring Jake Arthur into the halves? Does Bailey Simonson come in somewhere, or do they push one of the edge forwards out into the centres? Where do you think they'll go if that were to occur?
I don't think they'll make a change to Moses and Brown. Dylan Brown was the best player on the field last week, and I don't think that upset that. Unless Dylan Brown said, for the good of the team, I'm willing to do it. But, you'd be insane to change that combination. Murata Niokora has been great in the centres in the past, and maybe they move him there, but I think he's too beneficial off the bench or even starting in the forward pack. So what I think they may do is probably put Wanga Blake into the centres, and he can play centre, Bailey Simonson onto the wing, because it'll then alleviate the opportunity for Nathan Cleary to get at Wanga Blake with those big floating bombs. So, Chad Townsend to get it Wanga Blake with big floating bombs. So I'd expect that would be the change if they're going to make any change at all.
Blake, if you were, coach of the Eels, if you were Mr. Arthur, what sort of changes would you make if you were forced into it? Would you go with the move Walker Blake into the centres and Simonson into the starting lineup if Tom Opachik was out?
It's hard because I think Opachik has been he's sort of that steel they needed on the edge defensively, because they were leaking a lot of points, the last couple of years, even this year. And Opachik's really sort of put that steel back into them. So I'm not too sure. He might go that way. I wouldn't even mind Murata there, as in just defensively. He's very strong defensively. Scotty, I want to say with the Cowboys, do you think, like you with the Tigers under Sheensy and things, did you see any similarities with the 05 Tigers and the Cowboys? Like, I know Toddy's coach, like I see them shift a lot early out of their own territory. It just feels like they're full of confidence. They're real young, and they just don't really, not that they don't care, but just carefree.
Well, you need to have a good leader on the field to do that first and foremost, and that's where the Tigers had Scotty Prince and Brett Hodgson, and this team has Chad Townsend, who has the ability to be like another coach. Interesting, I was looking at a statistic last week about the teams that worry about just forging through the middle using their forwards, and Canberra's one of the sides, and South Sydney are two of the sides that They're really focused on just going through the front door first before they look out to their edges. Whereas Parramatta are one of the teams that use the ball the most side to side, and the Cowboys do as well. Use the ball side to side. They move the big forwards in the middle side to side across the field, and that get quite fatiguing at times. So I do see these similarities. What they have done really well is they've improved on the defence from last year, which was abysmal, and they've been able to find strike players in key positions to take advantage of when they've got the ball in hand. So, I feel as though there is a similarity between 05, where if they finish on a sideline, they won't try and just burn a tackle in the middle of the field for the next tackle. They'll go from one sideline to the other, and they'll ask a question on the other side of the field. It seems as though they're doing what the defence doesn't want you to do, and that's a really well coached side.
With the, as Scotty says, with the humidity up there, and the sort of style of play that the Cowboys will probably go with, Surly, are you sort of leaning towards the Cowboys now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Cowboys for a number of reasons. One, the weekend off. Two, defensively, they're outstanding. They work for one another. They work as a unit. And three, the conditions. I mean, for the Parramatta Eels, they'll do their last session in Sydney, then they'll fly on a charter flight to Townsville, and they'll probably do a small ball session, maybe Friday morning, maybe Thursday night, just to get used to what the ball's going to be like in hand. But when you're playing in those conditions, when there's a lot of sweat over the ball, you're used to it. And for Parramatta, it's just that another split second that you got to make sure the ball is in your hands before you transfer the ball again. On contact in tackles, a lot of time the ball can pop out just because you're just not used to playing in those conditions. You have to go in with a completely different mindset if you're not used to it. So, and I think that may stifle the Parramatta Eels a little bit, the way they like to play.
While we've got Scotty here, we might as well have a look at the second game as well.
Yeah.
What do we got? We got the where was I? Panthers Rabbitohs at a core stadium. So
You're right.
Yeah, HIA fair income. Panthers Rabbitohs, a core stadium, Saturday night, 9:50 our time. And we've got the Panthers 8.5-point favourites. What do you think about this one, Scotty? And I know if you could take your eye patch off just for this one and have a look at it from a completely neutral standpoint, how do you see it playing out?
Well, I've actually got foot in both camps. With my dad,
of course,
playing with South so many years, and South are my team growing up that I've still got a real emotional attachment to. So, it's a difficult one, this one. But what I do know is that the Rabbitohs are limping into this game. They've got a few injuries. Saliva Havili has been ruled out with a calf injury. You've got Alex Johnston, who's going to fight time and every second he can with a hip flexor injury. Now, those hip flexor injuries, if you've got a cork on your hip flexor, right on just underneath the hip bone, really difficult to recover from quickly. And Jai Arrow's got a groin injury. They've got no Tom Burgess. So if they're going to beat this very good Panthers side, who again has had a weekend off, and they're just going to wind up the toy. That's when you have the weekend off, you have the ability to wind the toy up to its absolute maximum and then just let it go at the end of the tunnel when the siren goes. So I think that's where the way Penrith Panthers will be. You don't want to give them time to think and work on their game. And, I mean, the Bunnies are going to be up against it. But if they are going to win the Bunnies, your Latrell Mitchells and your Cody Walkers and your Cam Murrays and your Damien Cooks, they have to have the games of their life to be able to beat this Penrith side, which they've got the ability to do. I mean, that would be my roughie for the weekend, because they've got so many great players, South, that can rise to the occasion. So, but whoever's going to beat Penrith this year has got to be one hell of a side.
I guess they haven't just had the week off. They had a week off before the finals actually started, when they put out that reserve grade side. So they really will be coming in here as fresh as a daisy. They looked very, very good in week one of the finals. Had the week off. I guess I look at the Bunny, and I agree with you. I think if the Bunnies are to win, it's going to take a couple of moments, maybe more than a couple of moments of individual brilliance from someone like a Latrell or a Cody Walker. it's a rematch of last year's grand final, and of course there was no Latrell then. So, just how much of a difference does he make to this Bunny side on Saturday night, Scott?
I think it's a 12-point difference without doubt. Well, because his goal kicking has been phenomenal, striking them beautifully, and just his injection into the game. Now, it's a good way to look at it, actually. That 14-12 last year grand final, no Latrell. If he plays, there's a massive chance that South Sydney win that game. Now, they don't have Adam Reynolds, but there's Lachlan Ilias is a really good little player, good defender, most importantly. He just allows Cody to do all the fancy work. So, this South side had the ability to upset anyone on their day, but they've been running on all cylinders since Latrell's come back. He thrives on these moments, Latrell, but they've been running on all cylinders since Latrell comes back, and there's a time soon where it's just going to it could possibly explode. But what I do know is with this South side is that when Latrell's in the team, they're a completely different side. He's one of those guys that when you look across the dressing shed and you see him putting his boots on, you just feel better about yourself as a player. So that's the effect some of these players have on their teammates. That's what Latrell has. Now, I don't think Penrith wanted South in the finals, and I don't think they wanted Parramatta. I know the Cowboys wanted Penrith at some stage because they really think. I know Toddy Payton's really had a target on them for a while since Penrith beat them 22-0 during the season, which doesn't look great from a scoreboard point of view, but the Cowboys were courageous that night without a lot of their stars. So, but this South side has the ability to scare most teams. I don't think Penrith are that comfortable about playing South, but with the week off, it sits in their favour.
Blake, you're, I guess, which way are you looking in this game? Yeah, do you think that the Bunnies have enough gas in the tank to get over the top of the Panthers, or are you going with the Panthers? They're building a dynasty of sorts. If they can pick up 2 grand finals in a row, you've got to say this is one of the best teams going around. And with the age of a lot of them, they've got the ability to, be there or thereabouts for the next 5 or 6 years.
And that was my question about the Panthers this year. Why I didn't pick them to win it was because of all the football they've played. Now, they played, this will be their 3rd grand final in a row. So you're playing up to, some of the stars in that team have played 30 games of rugby league a season, and maybe 10 or 12 of them are real high intensity. And you look at Origin this year, especially that last game, like how tough that was. That was my big question. But then you had Nathan sit out for 5 weeks with the suspension. You had Jerome Luai with the injury. So it sort of seems like they're rested and ready to go. But I don't know. Every time I've seen the tip against the Bunnies, they just sort of surprise me. Even like last week, I thought, Sharks are ready. Latrell's 8-1 in the finals in his career. He's lost one game. Now, I mean, he just seems on another level at the moment. And like Scotty said, I think with Cam Murray there, Damien Cook's been quiet the last month of footy to me. He's done his job, but just not the Damien Cook who is usually darting out a dummy half. And I'm expecting him to have a big one. So for me, I'm going to pick the Bunnies in a real close match. I think the Bunnies can do it, can do a job.
I want to go back to Scott, and I want to know, do you think the referees will have a huge impact on either game here? Are you confident we're not going to get a contentious call that might swing it one way or the other?
Well, if we get the All Blacks and Wallabies blooded
it's good to have you here, mate. I've been trying for weeks.
But no, I don't think they will. I mean, they did draw a line in the sand a couple of weeks ago with South and the Roosters, and it's going to be interesting if they continue down that path with the sin bins, especially with the head injuries and the headshots. I suspect that they will, and I put that back on the players. The players have just got to get their tackle technique back in order instead of aiming up around the ball and up around the chest. They've got to aim a little bit lower. And so overall, I hope the referees don't take the opinion that the 40 or 50,000 people there to watch them. They're there to watch the players, and they just stay out of it, which I've got to say, I called the Canberra and Parramatta game last week. I thought the Parramatta the referee was really, really good that night. He did a great job. He just let the game flow. There wasn't a lot of six agains in the first half. Both teams were disciplined. So I just hope they won't play a role. But both these teams, they don't need the referee to give them a leg up. South and Penrith, I talk about. They don't need the referee to give them a leg up. When they see opportunities, they take them.
You got anything for Scotty?
No.
Shirley?
No, he's done a lot.
I want to get a couple of tips out of him before he goes, to be fair.
Yeah.
We want him to put his money where his mouth. Are you calling one of these games on the weekend, Scott?
Yeah, we're in Townsville for SEN and SENZ. We're doing the Cowboys Parramatta game. So, yeah, can't wait. Beautiful stadium, Queensland Country Bank Stadium.
Oh, you actually go up to
Yep.
the right. Because I know there have been a number of games. I don't know if it's in the NRL, but a number of, I think the cricket that was up Queensland way, the Black Caps and the Aussies. I think they called that out of a studio in Sydney.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah.
One of the boys who was commentator of the game said that he was doing it out of a studio in Sydney with them, and he saw I think he saw Blocker as he was coming out, and he thought Blocker might be calling a game from the Sydney as well a few weeks ago, but I'm not sure. But great to see that you'll be up there, North Queensland. So you've got a bit of money to spend.
Yep.
Where are you putting your money on each game?
So from a safe head-to-head, I'd say Panthers. We are safe to head. I mean, they're short favourites, and they deserve to be, but I think if you're going to put them in any sort of multi, they need to be there. So my head-to-head is Panthers to win. And if I want to throw that into a multi, I'd go over the weekend. I'm going to put money on North Queensland to win 1-12. Murray Taulagi, the left winger for the Cowboys, score any time. Penrith Panthers 1-12. Brian Toto score any time. I think he's going to switch to the right-hand side to the left-hand side where he's played the last 2 years. He's been on the right side this year. It's the preferred passing side as well. And my roughie, if there is going to be any roughie at all, I'm going to go say South Sydney 1-12. And with those players, especially we mentioned, if they're going to beat Penrith, those players got to have their best games of the season.
Before you go, have you been catching any of the NRLW?
Yeah, watch all of it.
Yeah, so I'd just like to get your thoughts on that, because the Brisbane Broncos going from I guess the bigwigs in the competition to not making the playoffs this season, and a couple of teams turning their fortunes around. The Newcastle Knights, and I think at the little halfback, was it Southwell, Jessie Southwell?
Jessie Southwell, yeah.
She's been brilliant. That pass that she put on the weekend from, I think it was from dummy half straight out to the wing, was just a beautiful piece of work. But is there anyone that you've been impressed with? I know the Roosters, who rested a number of players last weekend, and who was the young fullback for the Sydney Roosters who played in that State of Origin under 19 game? I think it's Jade Wilson. She's got a huge future ahead, and it looks like the Roosters have a huge future ahead of them. Can you just touch on the women's game and what you've been most impressed with?
What I love about the women's game, it's still raw. So the tackle technique is perfect. It hasn't been filtered with gang tackles where two players are holding up top and another player comes and chops the legs, which we see so much in the NRL. So it's still so pure, the game. The skills have continued to improve, especially the kicking game of the players, but actually getting long. They're getting longer each year in the sense of how much space they can cover with their kicks. And the introduction of young Jessie Southwell, 17. I mean, she won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games as a 17-year-old. Had to get permission from her parents, a waiver form to allow her to play in the NRLW. She's the best player in the comp, hands down, at 17 years of age. Within 2 or 3 years, she'll be the best player we've seen. I think she'll supersede the great Ali Brigginshaw, who's the captain of the Brisbane Broncos. So, her sister Jessie Southwell, her sister Hannah Southwell, who's the lock forward for the Newcastle Knights, played for the Roosters. She's out with a knee injury this year. She's my favourite player in the NRLW. Unbelievable tackle technique. And then you got a fullback that plays for the Dragons. Her name is Emma Tonagato. She's another gold medalist as well in the Olympics, and she's a superstar. Her speed could rival a lot of the outside backs in the men's. So, yeah, the Roosters have been dominant. The Newcastle Knights are the surprise packet. The Dragons are always thereabouts. Parramatta made the finals after winning one game on the weekend. So, and the Brisbane Broncos have probably underachieved after being, they did a three-peat actually. The first 3 years they won premierships. So, but it's a good position to be in because we're seeing, new teams, coming to the finals and 10 teams next year, which is exciting.
Very exciting. So, a couple of games this weekend. Newcastle Knights, they're 4.5-point favourites against the Dragons, and the Roosters, 12.5-point favourites against the Eels. Where would you be going there, Scott?
Well, definitely going for the Roosters. I think they'll win convincingly against Parramatta. Parramatta as I said, they had to win on the weekend. They did. They beat the Broncos and have struggled at times a fair bit this year. So the Roosters are a pretty safe bet there. Newcastle, it's going to be interesting whether their stars Millie Boyle and co, whether they play. And young Jesse Southwell's been battling with an injury as well. So that game could go either way. But I think Newcastle deserve to be favourites. So I'd be going Roosters, Newcastle for those two finals.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thanks for joining us, Scott. Really, really appreciate it. All the best for the call on the weekend up there in North Queensland. I hope the humidity doesn't get to you too much. Make sure you keep lubricated, keep drinking the fluids. I find that works every single time.
I'll be lubricating and taking the fluids after the game at the Mad Cow nightclub after it. So
yeah. I'll see if Blake can get you his table there. He's a gold card member, I believe.
Right. Yeah, the walls could talk.
Yeah. Fantastic. With Mad Monday happening for a number of teams, any PG stories you can tell us from your days? Mad Monday with either the Tigers or the Panthers, or
I suppose that the funny things you think about Mad Monday that are PG are, there's been some clubs where you weren't allowed to start Mad Monday until you finished a particular drink. At the Gold Coast Chargers, to get on the bus, you had to scull a midi, which over here is a midi in Australia, like a pot of claret and a raw egg. So before you could start the day, you had to get on the bus and you had to finish it. If you didn't, you weren't allowed to participate in the day. And all the different games that I suppose get created around Mad Monday, the pub golf. I don't know whether you've heard of pub golf before, which every pub has got a score, like whether it's a par 3 or par 4, par 5, and however, if you have 4 drinks, you're on par. If you have 5, you're 1 under. And some guys go really hard in the first 2 pubs, and they're 4 or 5 under. Then by pub 3, they're asleep in the cubicle. There's been some Mad Mondays where we started in Penrith, and we've ended up in Newcastle, which is I suppose it's like going from Christchurch to Dunedin. Yeah, so it's some funny stories. They're the ones we can tell anyway.
Fantastic. Oh, you've been brilliant once again, Scott. We really appreciate you coming on the show. All the best. I guess you'll be calling the grand final as well in a couple of weeks' time. So, hope it goes well for you, and maybe we'll get you back again. Hopefully before the finals. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we could talk to you during the World Cup because there's I don't know. There's
still plenty of rugby league.
We're getting a bit sort of keen over here with our chances. We're probably going to have one of the biggest forward packs going around, and the halves pairing of Dylan Brown and Jerome Hughes won't be too shabby either. So if you're available, we wouldn't mind getting you back for maybe a week after some of those minor pool games are over. and just get your thoughts on how the Kangaroos are going and the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I'd love to, guys. I'm a huge Michael Maguire fan. I love Madge. I've got to say, I think it's the best New Zealand side that they've ever put on paper. I think this year's season, this year's side, I should say, not only a forward pack, but some of those key positions. I think it's Joey Manu at fullback. I think it's one of the best Kiwi sides we've ever seen.
Yeah. It's like to hear.
It's one of our best spines. Brandon Smith, Jerome Hughes, Dylan Brown, Joey Manu. That's not in pretty much
$4.33.
Yeah.
Give me all of that, please.
Get on now if you like it, punters. Get on now. Right, okay, Scotty, we'll let you go, but thanks so much again for joining us. And I'll get Carl's people to talk to your people, and we'll see if we can get you back again for the World Cup.
No worries. Thanks very much, guys.
When I think of these two teams, just not looking at anything, you automatically go to the Eels thinking, and maybe that's because of their dominance or consistency over the last few years. But when you look at the teams on paper and you take into consideration it's in Townsville, the humidity, all of that, I really like the look of the Cowboys team this week.
Okay. So you like Cowboys?
I do.
Shirley, you like?
Yeah, I'm on the Cowboys as well.
Blake? Oh,
You're on mute.
you're on mute?
Parramatta Seals. Sorry, I was coughing.
What noise does an eel make, Blake?
I'll get it to you by the end of the show.
Sure, stat man.
Yeah, all the stats here sort of back up what Scotty was saying. Around the Panthers, they've won 8 of the last 10 against the Bunnies, including the last 3 straight, which includes the grand final, and I think they played twice this year. The average winning margin by either team in the last 10 matches is 10 points. 11 of the last 15 between these two has been decided by a single-digit margin. The average is 3.6, so quite tight. Only 2 of the last 15 have been decided by a margin of more than 14. The average total set by the bookies in the last 10, 41.5. The under has hit in 3 of the last 5 and 6 of the last 10. 38.8 is the average total points scored in the last 10. And the line this week, 40.5, I think.
Right. Shirley. Well, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I like Penrith to win this one. I think from the start that I think they'll win the comp. When you look back to last time they bet them not so long ago, they did so without Cleary and Luai in the halves. So, and that was a pretty strong Rabbitohs side. They had Latrell and everyone on board. So, yeah, I think the Panthers will be too good. It's going to be interesting. You're hearing all this chat that the Rabbitohs have been playing old Viliami Kikau post grand final last year, taking the mickey out of their team song. So we might see a few shots coming his way early doors, but I just think this Panthers side's too good. I think week off, they're going to come in rested, and yeah, Cleary, just too good.
Blake?
We like to say the Panthers have been the team of the last couple of years, and they probably have because they've been to the grand finals, but South Sydney have made 5 prelims in a row. That's a big feat. Now, back when they made their prelims, look, the Panthers didn't make the semis in 2019. So you could say COVID sort of helped them because they're the team since COVID that have gone forward. 2019, they finished 10th behind the mighty Tigers, who finished 9th. So, look, there's hope for everyone. But I think the Bunnies are the team that have been most successful over the last 5 years, as in where they finished every year. And I think with Latrell 8-1, did not play last year. Let's not forget that. This is his first season in the semi-finals with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I think the way he's playing, I think the way Cam Murray is playing, not only is he the sexiest man in rugby league by a fair margin, he is a great rugby league player. And
Joey Manu wouldn't be happy to hear that, I tell you that much.
Who was that?
Joey Manu, mate.
Sexiest man in rugby league, Cam Murray.
Joseph Suwali. There's a few lookers out there, mate. You're going to open up a real can of worms here.
I've got plenty of people with me, but not only that, he's a great rugby league player as well. Look, I think they're just going to win. I think it's their time, to be honest. I just do. It's nothing more than a gut feeling, but It is what it is. I think it's the Bunnies' time, and I think Latrell is going to have an absolute blinder.
Statman,
Well,
what do the stats tell you?
the history and the stats suggest that Panthers will win this. But like Blake's just said, I really like the Bunnies. I'm really torn on this game in terms of our official picks later on. There's something different about this Bunnies team this year. And in the last sort of 10 weeks, they are flying. Latrell is flying. They are the one team, I think, at the moment that can not only tip up the Panthers, but give them a good little hiding like they did to whoever it was last week, the Sharks. So, yeah, torn. I'll make a decision by the time we get to our betting. But I'm on the fence. You?
It's a tough one. It is a very, very tough one. I do respect the I guess the sort of championship grade side that the Panthers have built over the last 4 seasons, and their reserve grade team is in the finals as well, up against in the who they're playing, the Dogs, I
Bulldogs.
think. Yep. Yeah. So they're there as well. So they obviously have quite a bit of depth in that club. So I do respect that. I just think,
didn't we say they won the SG Bulls, did they?
Yeah. They got a few players.
Good side.
Yes.
Good club.
A good club. But Latrell's just that he's a special type of player who can pull something out of the bag. And if they don't win, I certainly think they can keep it fairly close. So I'm leaning the Bunnies' way just through the price. I'm very happy to take them with the points, definitely. So I think that's it for this week. Shall we?
I just want to, there was the still alive for all the punters if they want to go on and have a look at the try scorer, the top try scorer. I've got the things here. Xavier Coates still leading, paying $8 on 3 tries.
Oh, yeah, told you your chance.
Stop,
Mate. Brian Torr's on 2, Johnston's on 2, Tane Milne's on 2, paying $7. But the one that I like, if you like a roughie, we just heard that Opacek might be out. I like Marata Niokore into the centres who scored a double. $36. If he gets in the centres and scores another one, equal leader. So big possibilities all around there.
Wow.
Well, why don't we have a look at another one of those futures books, the Clive Churchill medal winner. And there's players from all four teams that are still left with a chance. Sterling, can you give us a player that you think I really need to be on, and then maybe one that's at slightly longer odds that you think, well, if they make the grand final, he could be a chance.
Yeah, well, I have Penrith winning it, so I think Nathan Cleary straight away is your go-to guy, and he's the favourite, I think, at $3.50 as well, so he's that main standout option. If you see someone else from Penrith, you're like, I don't mind Dylan Edwards as well. I think he's underrated. He's an exceptional footballer. His stats are always right up there, and at $17, I think that's a good shout. And then if you don't see Penrith making it, there's good money for everyone else, to be fair. So you mentioned your Latrells, Mitch Moses, Chad Townsend at $31. Some pretty crazy money there, but I'll be going either of those two Penrith lads, Cleary, and then as a smoky, Edwards.
Blake,
I had a look and I just did some research. So the number 7 is 110. The lock and the fullbacks have won 6. The second rowers and the 5/8s 4, and prop have won 3, and hookers only won twice. So it sort of leans towards a half, a fullback, or a lock. And for my roughie, like I said, I'm a Parramatta. I think Parramatta are going to win it. Ryan Madison, $101, is looking very juicy as a lock. I mean, offloading, he's sort of demanding the ball in the field there at the moment for Parramatta. And obviously, I think if Parramatta do win it, Mitchell Moses at 15s. So I'll be getting on both of those.
Statman?
I have had a look at 3 teams, and one of them is not the Eels.
You'll be
Cowboys. Losing. All right, champ. The Cowboys, I like the look of purely on price. Dearden at $34,
Mhm.
massive season, and Cotter at $34. I think what he did in Origin was nothing short of brilliance. I think he can sort of rise and lift again there. Panthers, Cleary, boring, I know. But Edwards, I like that call. Surly at 17s, a lot of value there. And then Souths, I had Latrell at 17s and Cam Murray at 36s as well.
Yeah, well, I took Latrell Mitchell last week at $31. He's now into 19, so I'll leave him out this time round. I'll go with Blake's sexiest man in rugby league, Cam Murray, $36. He, if they do make the final and the Bunnies win, then for mine, it's a toss-up between Mitchell and Cam Murray. I think it'd be very, very hard to see anyone else. Maybe Cody Walker. Even Cody Walker, I can't see him, even though, he's in the halves. I think the fact that Locks pick up a few of these awards really does push it more towards Cam Murray at $36 for mine. So if the Bunnies can do the unthinkable and knock over the Panthers, I don't mind them. I know wingers don't usually, but if the Panthers do win this weekend and Brian Tuttle scores a hat-trick in the grand final, surely he's a wee bit of an outside chance. He's $56 at the moment to win the Clive Churchill. I know a lot of things would have to go his way, but he's a very hard man to stop, and he knows the way to the try line. But at the moment, I do like Cam Murray, $36. Right, shall we have a look back at last week's results, punting-wise?
Yeah, of course you do.
What happened? Let's see.
Blake lost 120. I lost 180. You made $480.
Yeah,
And
Paul.
Surly lost $320.
Yeah.
Oh, new leader.
The overall standings.
Right, let's move on.
Surly's still, I don't know how. Surly's still leading at $500. Blake, $400. Myself, $275. And Paul, nearly back to zero.
Nice,
minus
Paul.
$54.
This is where I start to pick things up. I had a week off before last week. Now, bang, I came back. I'm straight into it. I'm really looking forward to this week.
Blake, you and I collectively have lost $1,700 in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, not good. Tough scenes.
Maybe we need to put our differences aside and
Work together as a team.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
No chance. Every man.
I
for
got
himself.
winners this week. I'm just confident.
Hey, there's more chance of Sticky and the Wheat-Gutted Dog getting together and having a party. Right. We'll get to this week, Kate. And your best head-to-head will start at the top of the table. Surly.
Yeah, have to go with the Panthers. $1.36.
Yep. Me, I'll go and come in second, aren't I? Yeah. Carl's third. Eels, $2.11.
Whoa. Hello.
Hello, Blake. Cowboys, $1.70.
Yeah. I'll jump on the Statman train. Cowboys, $1.70, please. Okay, we're going now to your best multi-anchor. Surely.
Yeah, I probably should have flipped these around, but I went Cowboys. $1.70. So
That's all right.
I've gone the South Sydney Rabbitohs plus 8.5, $1.90.
I have gone the Panthers Bunnies game. The try bet, 10.5 point option. Either team by 10 or less at $2. That's what the stats tell me.
Right. I've jumped off the Statman train and I'm jumping on the Blake train. I'm going to take the Rabbitohs plus 8.5 at $1.90. Your best total this week, Surly.
I went Panthers total points 21 to 30 bracket at $2.80.
I had the Panthers Rabbits game under 41.5, and I see it's jumped to 40.5. So under 40.5, $1.85.
Cowboys Eels total points 3-way, 38 to 49 inclusive at $2.50.
38 to 49.
Loves a three-way.
Loves every-way.
He does. He doesn't mind a total bet either. Mine, when I'm going the Cowboys Eels game, over 42.5 at $1.85. Nice and clean and simple. Your best roughie, Surly.
Yeah, right on the cutoff after clarifying it in the chat. I've got Mitch Moses, anytime, $5. I thought that was crazy money.
I'm liking your leaning towards the Eels there, Surly. That'd probably be the match winner there. I've gone Sevo, first try scorer into Para to win, $14.
I've gone Cowboys 13 plus and under 43.5 at $7.50.
I've gone Cowboys 1 to 12 and over 43.5 at $6.50. Now what it's going to do, it's going to be the other combination.
Yeah, Parramatta.
Yeah.
With eel noise.
Go,
With eel noise, and you'll convince me.
Yeah.
Oh. Let's get the winning team of market bets for the first game.
Convinced that's right.
The Cowboys Eels, Surly.
Geez, well, that eel noise now kind of made me flip, but I'll go Cowboys 1 to 12 because I don't know what eels they have down in Papamoa, but it sounded like it needed a bit of help.
That's $2.88 for the Cowboys 1 to 12.
Yeah, obviously Eels 1 to 12, $3.40.
I'll take it you're going Cowboys 13 and over.
No, that was just my roughie. I'll go Cowboys 1 to 12, $2.88.
Cowboys 1 to 12, $2.88. Second game, Surly, Panthers, Rabbitohs.
Yeah, I'll be going Panthers 1 to 12.
That's 4. Oh, no.
I'll be going.
You go, Blake. Sorry.
I'll be going Carl's Rabbits at $4.33, 1 to 12.
Carl still hasn't made a decision.
You know they win when you make that noise, Carl, the bunny noise.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go Bunnies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's creepers. Oh. All right, I'm going Bunnies 1 to 12, $4.83.
This will be the death of Surly in this competition if the Bunnies win.
And I forgot to say, my oval ball multi got up last week, so
Nice, Paul.
around the $9 mark. It was the Newcastle women to win, the Roosters women minus 11.5, the Bunnies, and the Eels.
Well done, mate.
So look, I'm building up for next year because you know these count next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you got a same game multi for us early?
Yeah, went with the old Para Cowboys game. Just 3 try scorers. Felt, Dead, and Moses, 31s.
Oh, yep. I've gone same price, same game. Dearden to score, Sevo 2 tries, and Para to win, $31.
I went Bunnies plus 10.5, under 46.5, AJ try and To'o try, only $8.
Wow. I've gone the other game. Nanai, Valentine, and Gutherson all to score tries, $15.
Sheesh, there's going to be a lot of tries in that game.
That's why it's going to be over 42.5.
The old 3-way, no good.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll move on to an oval ball multi if you've got one for us, Surly.
Yeah, just went all head-to-head. Went the Cowboys, the Panthers, the Warriors Bees, Redcliffe, Panthers New South Wales Cup, and then in the girls, the Newcastle and the Roosters, $8.89.
Yeah, I've got one. I'm pretty confident in this week. What is it? If you have 6 legs, you
You
two.
get two.
Two.
Two
Yeah,
swing.
so I've got 6-legger here. I've got Parramatta to win, the Rabbits plus 8.5, Redcliffe Dolphins to win, Panthers to win the New South Wales Cup, the Knights women to win, and St Helens to win the Super League 13 plus. It's $34.
I like how you started that. Like, I'm really confident this week. Oh, how many can I miss?
Yeah.
And then jump straight on the Eels and the Bunnies. Love it.
Really confident that I probably get a bonus bet this week.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. I'm
Yeah.
at least getting real close.
I haven't got them. I've pulled out some power plays instead this
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
So if you've got a multi you want to get off,
Yep. I've got Cowboys to win, To'o to score a try, St Helens to win, and the Newcastle Knights women to win. That's paying $6.89.
cool. So I found one power play I like in the Cowboys Eels game. Sevo, Felt, and Gutherson to combine for 4+ tries at $7.50. And then I found 4 in the Panthers Bunnies game. So any winger, number 2 or 5, or replacement winger to score a try in the first 15 minutes. Didn't write down the price. That's a good start. But it was up near the top, so it must have been relatively cheap. Bunnies to score 2 or more tries in each half, $5. Each team to score 2 or more tries each half, $8.50. And To'o and Johnson, two or more tries each, $26. Real rough, but
I hope AJ plays. Hope he plays.
yeah, otherwise all my work's just gone.
I think we've done it.
Done.
We've done it again, lads. Just one more week to go of NRL footy, but plenty of World Cup footy to come after that. So we can't rest. We've got to keep going. But thanks again for joining us, Blake, Surly, Carl, and for you guys for listening. Thanks to Scotty Sattler for joining us as well. He was brilliant.
Champion.
Fantastic. You got any giveaways?
No.
Okay. Can you work on that next week?
We'll try.
Can you try and get something for next week?
Yeah, we'll try, mate.
Okay. We'll have a look in the old kit bag, see if there's something in there.
We'll try.
Okay, we're going to try to find something for grand final. And we can't find something for grand final week. When can we find something? What's the world coming to? Anyway, thanks for joining us here on the Advantage Line. We'll see you again next week for our grand final preview